Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. To the left of me is a very fast hand-built British car. This is a 2020 Aston Martin Vantage V8. However, this car is not a normal Aston Martin Vantage V8. It has been modified to make about 800 horsepower. Yes, that's about 300 horsepower more than what it originally came with. If you're new to this channel, this is the second British car that we're featuring in our channel. We also done a review on a Bentley Continental GT, but they are totally different in the way and shape that they put down their power and how they feel when you're driving it. In today's episode, we're going to give you a full review of this unique British car by talking about the history of this car, the engine, transmission, the brakes, wheels, suspension of this car, the exhaust note of this car, which is absolutely delicious to your ears. And then we're also going to be talking about the styling of this car and a little bit of overview of the interior, and towards the end we're going to be taking this bad boy for a little drive and telling you what the experience of driving this Aston Martin Vantage V8 is. If you like the content of this channel, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed this episode talking about this very unique and fast Aston Martin. Alright guys, now let's talk a little bit more about this Aston Martin Vantage V8. However, before doing so, I need to tell you that this car was loaned to me by Throttle Auto Studio, which has an amazing selection of unique and high performance cars. And we've already done two of their cars. We've done the 97 Mitsubishi Pajero Evolution, and we've done the 2020 Alfa Romeo Spider 33 Stradale Tributo. And this car and other cars in their amazing collection are available to be rented out for movie studios or companies that are trying to feature this car in their commercials. And their information is displayed on the screen for people that are looking to rent one of these cars for these special events. Alright guys, now let's talk a little bit more about this Aston Martin Vantage, but before doing so, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Aston Martin and how they came about building this Vantage model. Aston Martin, since its founding in 1913 in Great Britain, had been heavily involved in racing. And they've made a lot of beautiful and fast cars throughout their history up until 1979 when they introduced the first generation of Aston Martin Vantage, which was a Grand Tourer, and it was hand-built. That car at the time was labeled first British supercar because with its 390 to 450 horsepower engine, it could reach the top speed of 175 miles per hour, and it can do 0-60 of 5.3 seconds, which was very good for this late 70s and early 80s. The second generation of Aston Martin Vantage was debuted in 1989, and the model was actually called the Virage up until 1993 when Aston Martin actually brought back the name Vantage. That car is well known for being very eager to rev, and it had a good acceleration, but the engine that Aston Martin used in that generation was very well known for making an amazing sound from the exhaust. And automotive enthusiasts said that nothing sounds quiet like an Aston Martin V8. Then we didn't have any Aston Martin Vantage for about 5 years. The third generation of Aston Martin, which was introduced in 2005, offered both a V8 version from 2005 all the way to 2017 and a V12 version from 2008 to 2018. Now, the V8s were 4.3 liter and 4.7 liter. They were making about 380 to 420 horsepower and 175 miles per hour or 180 miles per hour top speed. And then later on in 2008, they also introduced a V12, and that was making about 510 to 565 horsepower. And that was the first time an Aston Martin Vantage was able to do 200 miles per hour, which is an amazing feat to achieve. And that brings us to the fourth generation of Aston Martin Vantage, which is actually the car that you see in front of you. This 2020 model, this beautiful China gray color. Design of this car was inspired by Aston Martin Vulcan, which is a track-only version of the car, and also Aston Martin DB10, which was featured in the James Bond movie Spectre. And another thing that is very unique about this car is the V8 version that you see in this car is actually a V8 that was borrowed from Mercedes-Benz AMG division. Aston Martin does offer a 7-speed manual transmission with this AMG-derived engine, in addition to the 8-speed ZF automatic transmission being offered as well. Now moving on and talking about one of the most exciting things about this car, it's the engine of this car. Now Aston Martin offers two types of engines in this car. They offer a V12 AE31 5.2 liter twin turbo that makes about 590 horsepower and about 565 pound-feet of torque, and it does a 0-60 in about 3.4 seconds and about 200 miles per hour top speed. Now, the other engine being offered in this car is the one that you see here, is the AMG derived engine, which is called the M177 engine. It's a 4.0 liter twin turbo V8 that makes 503 horsepower and 505 pound-feet of torque, and it does the 0 to 60 in about 3.6 seconds and a top speed of 195 miles per hour. However, this car doesn't make that much power, but it makes a lot more power thanks to Stage 3 Pure Turbo 1000 turbo upgrade, Gintani tune, and custom downpipes. This car makes roughly about 800 horsepower and about 750 pound-feet of torque, which is a lot of power, and the sound of the exhaust of this car, music to ear. Take a listen. Now, all of that power is mated into the ground via an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission or that 7-speed Graziano manual transmission, which makes Aston Martin the only manufacturer that has been able to pair a manual transmission with a modern AMG V8 engine. And this car weighs about 3,400 pounds, and it has been able to push the engine kind of farther back, as you see, to achieve that 50-50 weight distribution. The fun factor about this car is that it comes with electronically controlled differential with torque vectoring for the folks that are brave enough to drift their $150,000 car. Moving on and talking about the wheels, brakes, and suspension on this car. As you see, this car has a lowered stance because this car has been lowered with KW coilovers, and the wheels on this car are 101 BBS LMR staggered and forged aluminum wheels, and they're wrapped on some Toyo tires. However, in the front, the tires are Toyo Proxys Sport 255/35s, and in the rear, they're Toyo Proxys R88R DOT competition tires, which if you do choose to take this car on a track, they can give you a faster lap time and better dry handling because of the way the treads are designed. And with all the power that this car puts down, you need some good braking, and this car does not disappoint. In the front, you have 6 piston calipers gripping on 15.7-inch rotors that are slotted, and in the rear, it's a very interesting design of brakes. You have a 4-piston caliper, but you also have single piston caliper, and the rotor size in the rear is 14.2 inches, which gives the driver great confidence to come to a standing still without having any problem with all of this power in this car. All right, guys, now moving on and talking about the exterior styling of this Aston Martin Vantage. It's just absolutely beautiful and menacing, wide, slow, slung to the ground. I cannot emphasize the word. This car definitely makes a presence when you see it on the road, parking lot. But I think it's actually very nice the way it was inspired by track-only Vulcan and Aston Martin DB10. It just looks beautiful. But I really like how wide the front of this car is. You got this little indentation in the hood, really nice, subtle. Everything is nice and symmetrical. Then coming down, obviously, you cannot miss this is the Aston Martin logo with the wings open. Let's talk about the lights. You got the LED lights and how these things kind of look like an Aston Martin logo. And the corner of the headlights has both the daytime running lights, which in turn turn into turn signals. It's actually pretty nice the way it does. I love this front bumper of this car. Now, this car did come with the carbon fiber front lip, side skirts, and rear diffuser. The front of it has been damaged a little bit, but Full Throttle Auto Studio has plans to replace it. I love how much room you have in the front of this car to suck in the air. And as you make your way to the side of this car, you're greeted by this beautiful flared fenders in the front, and even they're more flared in the rear to house these beautiful and one-of-one BBS LMR wheels that are forged and staggered. And the color matching of the BBS plus the calipers is absolutely amazing. Then the side profile, love how that mirror kind of sticks out really far. And you have some functional vents over here to take out the heat from the brakes. This car has the carbon fiber side skirts. And kudos to Aston Martin for the way they designed these front doors opening. It looks like their upward wings kind of resembles Aston Martin's logo. The GT profile of this car is complemented by how the roof line look. You got these two symmetrical lines running on it. This car doesn't have a moonroof, and I think it just fits it nice and beautifully. Cannot get enough of this line that runs all the way to the back of the car. It's just, they did an amazing job. Coming to the rear, we have the BBS LMR wheels that are 101, and then this is one of the most beautiful things about this car. I love how the back end of this car looks, from the trunk lid when you open it up to the way these taillights, these LED taillights, they look like they have a whole bunch of crystals inside of them. Then you got this nice long LED running light here on the back that has been a common thing on these newer cars. You're greeted by a lot of carbon fiber. The bottom portion of the bumper is made out of the carbon fiber, and then also you have the carbon fiber diffuser. And obviously, who cannot forget about these quad exhaust tips that make great sound, as you heard previously. Now, one thing I really don't care are these little plastic pieces called bumperettes that stick out on the back of it. Aston Martin had to put these in US spec cars because of the DOT mandates, but I'm sure you can take them off to make the back end of this car look just nice and symmetrical and with the curvature that it has. And as far as the trunk space of this car, you have 10.5 cubic feet of space, and on the side you see a little pouch. This is actually a tire repair kit. This car doesn't come with an actual spare tire, and I like how Aston Martin did this little neat thing that actually completely separates the trunk from the side, but you can also put this down if you need to put something bigger in the car, and it's really nice. It's real cute, and you can put some smaller items over here if you want. And on the back of the seats, you do have a little bit of space too, so this car is actually a practical car for a little weekend getaway. And I really like how Aston Martin even put little trunk cover, and it does have the yellow stitching because this car's interior is black on yellow. And I like how you can just grab this and close it, and when you're looking at the back, you cannot see what you have in the trunk. So kudos to Aston Martin to give the folks that own this car some privacy. Moving on and talking about the interior of this Aston Martin Vantage, this car does come with black interior with yellow stitching that you see it in numerous places on the doors, on the seats, on the dashboard, even various places in the trunk. Let's talk about the doors first. Really like, as I mentioned, how these doors open. Instead of a traditional door handle that you just pull and the door opens, you have to either put your opposite hand here and open it up, or what I've found myself, I put one of my fingers here and I kind of open it up like that. But Aston Martin's idea is to go with the opposite hand and open the door so you can see if there's somebody's coming from behind you. I like how they use some soft plastic with the yellow stitching. You got some leather, then you got some like a piano-like type trim over here. Then you got your basic sets. This is the controls for the mirrors, the power windows, and then obviously this is how you open the trunk. You got a little bit of space right here too if you want to put something here. And this is how you grab the handle. I think this is a really nice and neat touch. And moving on to the seats themselves, first of all, you have Aston Martin embossed on the seats on the top, and I like how they put the yellow stitching all throughout the seats. Very nice, comfortable, and these seats do come with 3 memory settings, and this car does have an upgraded seating because normally they don't come with this option to adjust various settings on the back and on the sides. And moving on to the interior itself, it's nicely designed. It's got the elements of luxury but definitely more sport focus, and a lot of the theme of this car actually comes from Mercedes. Besides using the engine and transmission from Mercedes-Benz, this car also uses the older infotainment system from Mercedes-Benz called the Command system that has been replaced by MBUX. Aston Martin got a good engine and transmission from Mercedes-Benz, but unfortunately they didn't get the best infotainment system. That is not touchscreen intuitive. Everything you have to select with this knob, and it's not that hard to use, but I wish Mercedes-Benz had given the MBUX system, but I guess that was an agreement that Aston Martin had with Mercedes-Benz. The layout of this center stack is also very similar to Mercedes-Benz GT coupes, starting off with the central vents. This is the controls for the climate control, different fan settings, different menus. This is your heated seats for both driver and passenger. This is how you turn on the light and turn it off for driver, and obviously this is for the passenger. That you can turn on and turn off. And this is one of my favorite places. This is how you turn on the engine of this car, and it makes a great sound. And then this is obviously how you turn it off. Then you have your reverse, park, normal, and drive. Coming to the middle part, this is your Parktronic, this is your 360 camera. Then you got the button for radio, then you got the this guy with no flying experience. Then you got your media. If you want to connect Bluetooth system, traction control on and off, the volume button. Then this is the auto start or shut off, navigation button for your phone. And then this is a little area that you kind of let your hand rest up. You got a couple of cup holders here. And underneath the armrest, you have a little bit of storage with a couple of USB, in addition to the 2 USB ports. And also you have your cigarette lighter. Moving on to the gauges. I like how Aston Martin laid out the gauges. On the right side, you have some of the basic information for navigation, radio, media, and different other things. On the left side, you have your fuel and you have your coolant temperature. And in the middle, which is the most important part, you have your tachometer centered. And inside of it, you have your speedometer and different gears whenever you're in. And this car's steering wheel is nice and sporty, it's grippy, and you have your paddle shifters really nice and big, plus and minus on the other side. And right here is where you can change the modes of the car. You can go from Sport to Sport Plus, then you can also go from Sport Plus to Track. You can also change the damping on this car from Sport to Sport Plus and Track. So that's very, very nice. And it has a nice tapered flat bottom steering wheel. And you have various buttons on the steering wheel that basically all the cars nowadays have. And on the side, you have both your wiper blade stock and also your turn signals. One thing that's a little bit hard for me, and I'm sure other people, to choose is the cruise control. I wish they kind of either put it on the opposite side or kind of a little bit made it space out a little bit more. It's a little bit hard to reach, but I guess that's how Aston Martin did it. And the steering wheel is power adjustable in and out and up and down, so you can choose the various settings that you want. Another thing I really like about this Aston Martin is this Alcantara headliner that goes all the way to the A-pillars and even on the back, so that's very nice touch. And just in case you didn't know what kind of car you were driving, you have another Aston Martin logo right here. I know you cannot bring the seats forward, but you do have a little bit more storage here that adds to the storage that you already have in the trunk of this car. And as far as the sun visors, I like how they put aluminum right here that gives it a nice luxurious look. And if you want to open the mirror, you just put your finger in this little hole that you have and you turn it to the side. That's really cool. We don't have a rear view camera, but we have a very nice, elegantly designed rear view mirror that doesn't have too much plastic on the side, so you can definitely appreciate the beauty. Aston Martin's attention to detail. All right, guys, now we're taking this Aston Martin Vantage for a little drive. My first impression is just, wow, this car is just so wild. It has a lot of power because of this pure 1000 turbo upgrade. I believe it's a stage 3. It has custom downpipes, it has a Gentani tune, and this thing, on a rough estimate, it's pushing about 800 horsepower. All right, we're gonna take this car on PCH. It's a very famous highway by the ocean in Southern California, and see what she does. The suspension and engine are both on Sport Plus. I'm gonna give it a little bit of gas. Woo! Wow, that was a lot of power. Oh my god. I give it a little bit more gas, guys. Oh my god. Woo! Wow, the amount of power that this car unleashes is out of this world. However, if you want to drive it normally, you can just put it on Sport, and it just drives like a normal day-to-day sports car. It's comfortable inside. Obviously, Aston Martin, by adopting Mercedes-Benz powertrain and infotainment, they have some of the reliability that the Germans have been using for many years. A lot of people know that British cars are not the greatest when it comes to reliability. So Aston Martin has done a good job by partnering with AMG, much like what Toyota did with their Supra and their collaboration with BMW to use the powertrain from BMW. It's a very beautiful and sunny day. It's about 72 degrees, and this is the type of car that you want to just take down the highway for a nice little cruise, maybe crack the window a little bit, get some of that nice breeze of air in. and just enjoy this car, this 800 horsepower Aston Martin. My goodness. This is probably one of the fastest cars I've ever driven for the channel, and I will definitely not forget this experience. This is again one of those cars that gives you the smiles per gallon. I'm definitely looking forward to drive more British cars, especially a car like this that is just a perfect merger of Aston Martin's craftsmanship and beauty, and obviously Mercedes-Benz AMG division of, you know, building these engines and transmissions that are just to die for. And the tasteful modifications that this car has gone through has even further unleashed the power of this car and this venerable M177 engine that can be tuned big time and unleash further amount of power. As we know, the era of the cars that have internal combustion engine is gradually coming to an end, unfortunately, and a lot of manufacturers are bringing partially electric or full electric cars in their lineup, and Mercedes has done it, and I'm sure Aston Martin is going to follow the suit as well. The cool factor of this car is just off the chart, but besides that, the way it drives, handling, the steering response, everything is actually very, very good. And I gotta give thumbs up to Aston Martin for being brave and pairing up with Mercedes-Benz's AMG division and making this car become a reality. The other British car that we drove on the channel was a Bentley Continental GT. It was on a totally different scale. This car is just very, very raw. Special thanks goes to Full Throttle Auto Studio for letting us drive this car, and I'm definitely looking forward to review more of their cars in the future.